Blue Lock just dropped a bombshell, as in this chapter, Isagi talks about him being close to a theory to take down NOA, but we also get a few insights into Igo's past as an active player, which is totally mind-blowing. Alright, starting off this chapter, also called The God, starts off super insane as we see Igo and Isagi waiting patiently for this insane-looking elevator. Isagi then turns to face Igo, and he asks Igo what it is that he wanted to talk about. We then see them enter the elevator. Anyway, Igo asks Isagi that at the end of the game, what was his intent with that play? Isagi tries to think back to his awesome goal and tells Igo that he was just trying to score his own goal, explaining that it felt like the obvious thing to do as a striker. After that, we get right into his head, as he wonders if Igo is actually angry about all of this. We then see Igo doing the classic anime villain thing as he puts up his glasses, and he then says sure, saying that the last play after victory was assured was good timing to test his new idea. The elevator door then begins to open, and Igo tells him that even though it was a smart move, not to go and make too many of those risky moves. He explains that it will create unrest among his teammates, who have no choice but to follow up, and the discord will cause Blue Lock's formation and tactics to fall apart. Igo then looks super determined as he says that the approach is just a secondary weapon to use when he can, and not to prioritize methods that he can't reproduce. Isagi apologizes, but says that he understands where Igo is coming from. But still, he calls out for Igo, and says that he feels like he is about to find the theory that will defeat NOA and make him the world's best, and once again, a beautiful panel. Anyway, Igo looks back at him, super shocked, but that's when Isagi's eyes start to burn with a super intense aura as he tells Igo straight up that this is why Igo's soccer isn't enough for him anymore, and Igo rightfully looks a bit shocked by that. Anyway, to break the tension between them, Isagi realizes just how high up they are and is amazed. He says that he had no idea that they could get up to the roof here and thinks that the view is insane. Igo explains that it's for emergency evacuations and tells Isagi to chill out. Igo then changes the topic and asks Isagi that if that's the case, then he needs to tell him about this theory that surpasses his. Isagi looks super caught off guard and mostly shocked as he tells Igo that it's not like he is denying him. After that, he brings up those compilations of super plays that Igo sent him. Isagi says that when he watched those, he realized that however much they stretched his imagination, there was a limit to what he could achieve on his own, no matter how hard he tried. Plus, on top of that, after fighting Loki, Lorenzo, and Kaiser, it all made him realize that even if he can win against them in matches or single plays, his abilities as an individual aren't even close to theirs, telling Igo that if he tried to beat NOA in terms of physical abilities, it would be impossible even if he were reincarnated 1,000,000 times. But once he let that sink in and decided to move on, he then started to see what he was lacking. After that, he puts out his hands and says that he thinks that people are either geniuses or learners, saying that it's not about which is better, as both types evolve through their mutual interactions. Igo is just silent and praying to God that Isagi will stop yapping soon. Anyway, that wish isn't granted yet, as Isagi explains that when a genius and a learner are properly balanced, if they keep competing with one another in the flow state, then their growth potential is unlimited, and either can eventually be the world's best. Isagi then starts to look super pumped up, as he says that this is just why he needs to keep being the ultimate learner, that Rin and Bachira, no, scratch that all the geniuses in Blue Lock want to surpass. Isagi gets a super bright and huge smile as he looks right at Igo and tells him to keep giving him new kinds of soccer so that he can show him that he can become the best in the world. Igo, however, just looks at him with a stone-cold expression as he then speaks up and asks Isagi if he thinks that there's a god of soccer. Isagi is just confused about what Igo is trying to cook up now. However, Isagi then asks if he means like Zico or Maradona. Hey, it's Natsu mid-editing here, and I just wanted to pause the video to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, and while you're already down there, why not leave a like as well? Igo explains that he doesn't mean it like that, but instead something unscientific and intangible. Isagi tells him that he isn't really following along, and he then wonders to himself why the logical Igo is suddenly talking about this. Igo then continues and says that at the extremity of thought and effort, mind and body become one. Luck and the environment, everything, go your way, and you feel guided towards your destiny by something outside yourself, in a sort of omnipotent divine possession. Then Igo drops the bomb as he says that, when he was an active player, he encountered, and first off, how cold isn't his, I don't even know what to call the animal thing behind him. Anyway, Igo says that for 7 minutes he experienced something he never had before or since, and he can only explain this level of performance at the time as the workings of some invisible power. Isagi looks super shocked as he finally has gotten some lore from Ego, and he then asks Ego what he is talking about, if it's different from the flow state or the luck formula. It then gets dark behind Ego as he says that those are just concepts he developed to study and reproduce that experience. He then once again asks Isagi to answer him about whether Isagi believes that there is a god of soccer, and Isagi looks stunned just then. But he then tries to gather his thoughts and thinks before saying that if that invisible power is thanks to a god, then yeah, he thinks that there is one. We then get a close-up panel of his face, and he says that when he came to Blue Lock and met Bachira right away, and at the very end of the U20 Japan match, the ball came right to him. Not to mention the iconic and insane last goal of the Neo Egoist League. Isagi lets out a slight smirk and says that he feels like in those moments, the god of soccer was telling him to set his sights on becoming the world's best. Ego is silent for a bit before saying that he sees, and maybe it is so. After that, Isagi continues, and this time is the one asking Ego for something. Isagi looks super curious as he asks Ego about what kind of player he was like when he was still active. We see Ego looking a bit sad, I would assume, as he is silent before he puts up his hand and says that, just like Isagi himself, he was a dreamer with a head full of ideas. But the god doesn't visit him anymore, and when he had realized that, it was when he decided to quit soccer, which leaves Isagi stunned. After that, Ego starts to scratch his head and thinks that he said too much. He then tells Isagi that this chat is over and that the two of them should head back. But before he can walk any longer, Isagi calls out for him once again. This makes Ego wait up, and Isagi tells him to please watch him. Isagi looks extremely determined as he says that he is going to go and meet the god of soccer. He then looks filled with aura as he says that this egotist that Ego birthed is going to fulfill his dream for him. And bro, I really love Isagi so much as he is really standing on business. Ego just looks away and says, yeah, and he thinks to himself, telling Isagi to go on and surpass him. With that, today's chapter has sadly come to an end, but the next chapter will be called Don't Run Away, which is kind of surprising. However, I think that in the next chapter, we will get some insight into what happened in some of the other matches. And then, we will see one of the new Gen 11 players, maybe Kaiser or Loki, telling Isagi not to run away. I don't think that they will say it directly to him, but they will talk about Isagi and then just say, don't run away. I think that it would be pretty dope if that were the case, but let me know what you think it will be about. Anyway, with that, I have some sad news as there will be a break next week. So we will have to hold out 2 weeks for the next chapter, and I'm not going to lie, but it feels a bit tough when the story is starting to really get crazy, but I feel like it will go fast, thankfully. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about the current chapter. I wonder if Ego is just logical, or if what he talked about with Isagi at the start, about not doing reckless plays, is something Ego did when he also was a player, and it made his own formation fall apart and maybe led to them letting in a goal. I wonder if that's why Ego is so cautious about it. Or if he is just the logical mastermind who he always is, which is probably the truth, as, like he said, prioritizing methods that one can't reproduce isn't really the best option overall, as you need to be able to reproduce stuff for it to have true meaning. Also, what Isagi said about him being close to finding the theory that will make him take down NOA, that's just insane. Like, just how did this happen? I feel like we skipped like 100 chapters or something, because it kind of came out of nowhere. But I'm so here for it, as I can't wait for Isagi to dethrone NOA and obviously become the best striker in the world. Also, we can't ignore or forget to talk about the most hyped thing surrounding this chapter, which was Ego's backstory revealed. Well, it wasn't really that much of a reveal, as we didn't get to know a whole bunch, but it's at least something, and I'm dying to get more information on his backstory later on. However, with that said, I do wonder why he is so hesitant to talk about it. I do get it if he is just sad or scared about his past, and maybe there is lots of things that he regrets about it. But if not, then I feel like it would be in his best interest to share everything about his past to all of the players and most important Isagi so they can know everything that happened and try to avoid doing the same thing themselves. But yeah, Ego said that he stopped playing when he realized that the football god wouldn't visit him anymore. And while I do think that it's for sure a part in it all, I don't know if I think that it's the full story, to be honest. And that's mainly why I can't wait to get more information on Ego later down the line, as he is so insanely interesting. Anyway, this is where I will end it, as I have gotten what I wanted to say pretty much. Personally, I would give this chapter a strong 7 out of 10, or that's a bit mean, so I'll give it 7.5 instead. But anyway, let me know your predictions about the next chapter, and also what you thought about this chapter, 1 through 10, in the comments. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.